DrumWise Meets, and today I'm here with Dave Major. Hi, Dave.
Hi, mate. How you doing?
So my first question, Dave, is what age did you get into drums? And when you first started playing, what bands or artists inspired you?
So I started playing at 14. Before that, I had never thought about music. Music wasn't really in our household, but my dad was actually a keen musician, and the one instrument he wasn't allowed to play when he was a kid was a drum kit. So my mum bought him a drum kit for his Christmas, which was the first time I'd ever been exposed to drums or anything like that. And I just gravitated towards it straight away. I was like, that's cool. So it was shiny, it was noisy, it was set up in the living room, it was great. It's like a percussion plus black kit. It was great with all the tin cymbals and stuff like that. So yeah, and then I think within 6 months, because music hadn't really been on my radar, I was just relying on my friends who also, casually picking up a bass, and we just kind of formed a band. So I just kind of gravitated towards what they were listening to. So at that time, it was like, Nirvana, Foo Fighters kind of stuff that they were doing. Did a bit of System of a Down, and then I kind of started exploring music a bit more, listening to a lot of my dad's old soul records and like Motown stuff like that. So I'd be playing along with that, and then just literally, because this shows how old I am. This is like before Spotify, before YouTube. So it's like whatever CD was available, whatever things that they had, I would listen to and just play the album top to bottom as best as I could. So, for example, the first song that I ever played was "Moving Right Along" from the Muppets movie soundtrack, which is just like that's just me messing around, like playing on top of it. And then pretty quickly, the band, we started doing covers and we started doing like gigs and stuff like that pretty quickly. So it was those rocky stuff, but also a little bit of soul and things like that. So I still actually love Motown and soul and song based stuff versus the heavy stuff. I've kind of moved away from that. There was obviously a metal phase, but everyone has a metal phase.
Yes, they do.
There was a double pedal in there as well. Played very badly for a very long time.
Yeah, I had one of those phases too, definitely.
Yeah,
Mine
has.
Mine was really bad because I had like below shoulder length jet black hair. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a look, man. It's a strong look.
So yeah, there are no photos in existence anymore. So
well, that's a shame. I tried to grow my hair long and it just went out, but there are photos of that. So it just looks like a big a bulb on me playing gigs with just this blonde bulb around me.
I normally ask what was your first drum kit, but you've done that already with your Black Percussion Plus. But maybe
that was my dad's kit.
Right. Well, I was going to say talk us through some of the other kits you've had, but okay, what was your first drum kit, and then tell us about some of the other kits you've had.
So it was so played on that for quite a long time, and that eventually became my sort of beater gigging sharing kit. But the first proper kit I had was a Tama Rockstar Custom in, what was it? It wasn't caramel fade, but it was like a tequila sunrisey kind of fade. I had that for a very long time, all the way up to me starting to gig properly, actually, as a professional, doing functions and all the like. So after that, I saved up all my money and got a Tama Star Classic. And I had that for a very long time until I signed with Natal, and then that went. And now I have, I'm just trying to look, I've got effectively two big kits. So I've got a Maple and a Natal Cafe Racer, which make lots of smaller kits, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So it's not like I play a massive, although it'd be really cool, but I do have the space, and there's obviously no gigs, so I can just set up whatever I want. But I have two bass drums, four toms in both Maple and Cafe Racer.
Right.
So that it gives me options if I'm doing recordings or when gigs were happening and things like that. Cymbal wise, I started with the very, very bad. It's percussion plusy ones that just bend, and like as soon as you touch them, yeah, those ones they dent. So it was those, and then it was just casually, for Christmas, birthday, saving up, getting Z Customs, because apparently, that's what metal drummers do.
Yeah.
And then eventually swapping them for some A Customs, and then now I'm on a sort of a Meinl kick. So I don't have a lot of cymbals actually. I've got a set of hi hats, which is a Meinl. What are they? Extra thin jazz hats. Sorry. Then I've got a jazz thin crash, and I've got a ride cymbal. That is all the cymbals I own.
Nice. At least that means that the case is light to carry.
Yeah, they don't go anywhere anyway. They literally just I'm just staring at them right now. They're just off the here of my sort of filming teaching kit.
Right.
But yeah, totally light gear. Not a lot of cases. You do it quickly. Boom. That's what you want. Exactly.
Now, some people have found this one really hard to answer. You may not be one of those people. Let's see.
We'll find out.
So, I would find this one quite hard to answer myself because, I believe that we evolve as drummers and we take on different influences as we grow. However, that said, if you had to pick just one, who is your all-time favorite drummer?
Okay. Was that all-time favorite or is that influence?
That's a good question. Well, let's go with all-time favorite.
Chris Coleman, hands down, 100% of the time. 8 days a week, 25 hours a day. Just, yeah, Chris Coleman. Mainly because he can just do everything. And there's got to be hundreds and thousands of records of him playing where you have no idea it's Chris Coleman. I think if I was to list more drummers, they would all have that common theme of quite chameleon-like, and they're musicians, but also really amazing drummers. Because like I said before, I like songs. I still really like songs. I like playing songs with good singers, and I will happily sit and play a hi-hat behind a really good singer. So I like drummers that aren't just amazing drummers, but they are song players as well. But Chris Coleman, 100% of the time. There you go.
Nice. What about if you were to go with biggest influence then?
See, that's where it gets hard because I don't know. It like you said, it changes. So if I was to say, before, when in my metal phase, it would probably be the guy from System of a Down, John Dolmayan, or drummer from Machine Head, Dave McLean. But I obviously don't play metal anymore. I think, I don't know. Maybe Benny Greb. Even though he wouldn't be my favorite drummer, I just think there's maybe more things there's more things I've stolen from Benny Greb than anyone else. Put it that way. And literally stolen from him.
Well, and this is a really good opportunity, I think, to bring that up. From one educator here to another, there's nothing wrong with stealing licks from people. And besides, it's not really stealing; it's borrowing and then recycling and adapting and changing.
I think if you do what you just said, which is adapting it, changing it, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're just copying and literally sort of regurgitating what someone has already done, I think that's where a lot of drummers fall down, is they stop at the, I'm going to learn that John Bonham lick, for example. I mean, the classic one is the John Bonham, Dave Grohl right left kick thing, which everyone does the same way, which is that. So it's there's so much more that you can do with those three notes that a lot of drummers don't stop at. The Steve Gadd things that everyone does the exact same, the Rat McHugh thing. But if you adapt them, then it's not even stealing. It's influencing.
Yes.
You're being influenced by, not copying. Which is a fine balance, really, as a student. It's I think students need to be given the confidence to make up their own stuff, but not think that they just somehow it magically a bolt of inspiration. Because it never is. It never is. If you go back and back and back, Benny would have got something from Vinny. Vinny would have got something from Tony Williams, who would have got it from Max Roach, who would have got it from someone else, who all the way back to like field drummers or something like that. There's nothing new under the sun. So, but you need to at least be influenced by someone. So yeah, Benny, I think I've stolen a lot of his stuff and adapted it, even if it's little, maybe not even like licks per se, but things that the way people play. If you know what I mean, like if it's like even the way someone hits a cymbal or a move, as it were, or even just like a note placement. That's the stuff that I steal a lot of. It's like, oh, that guy puts a floor tom on 4, so I'm going to do that for the next month. That's the only thing I'm ever going to do again.
And going back to something you said earlier, because I imagine we grew up at a similar time when it comes to learning drums. That's where learning drums these days is very different, because you have got YouTube. I'm not saying it's all great. There are negatives as well, but being able to watch lots of different drummers and take what they do on board and be influenced by it, that is just such an amazing tool, isn't it, these days?
I know, it's insane. Like I started playing the drums, I think, let me work this out, 6 years before YouTube was even a thing. Like crazy. Like, I teach kids who've only ever known YouTube as a thing. They don't use it as a tool, but to me it's still amazing that I could sit with Tony Williams at like the side of the stage, have a drum cam and see him play. Because I will obviously never get that opportunity. I'll never get the opportunity to watch, even Vinny play in the 80s when he was doing the full Frank Zappa fusiony thing. Like, you'll never get that opportunity. So yeah, it's an incredible tool for learning and analyzing it and researching all the drummers that came before and discovering new drummers that are just just maybe give you a new idea or a new thought process. Same thing with Spotify as well, even though it's obviously not great for musicians. Like, just to be able to, without having to buy like proper old jazz or Afro-Cuban albums, like vinyl recordings that are on Spotify that you can check out, that you would have to go through like 25 record shops and like filter through. It's just great if you use those tools properly. Whether people do that, that's up to the student, I think.
It is definitely, yeah. And maybe now's a good time to say, from everything we've been saying, I was thinking, shall I mention this? But I'm going to. Something that fills me with dread slightly as a teacher is when someone comes into their lesson and I go, and I always start with, right, what would you like to gain from this lesson? What do you want to do today? And the one that I get fairly often is, show me some fills. I want to learn some fills. And I'm like, oh no, because that's such a big thing. Just show me some fills. What I tend to do is I'm like, right, let's stick YouTube on and let's look at a couple of really cool guys and then pull something out of what they're playing, which kind of comes right back around to what we were saying.
Yeah, it is. That's a mind. That's not even a new mindset. I don't think. I literally had a new student start yesterday, and he wanted, because I asked before, because obviously it was virtual, and I said, like, just send me an email with some things you want to work on. And it was 2 points where I want to learn new grooves and I want to learn new fills. And straight off the bat, I was like, that's not the way to think about it. Because the way I approach these things, and again, this is kind of not contrary of me, but basically, hypocritical of me, sorry, that a lot of people and yourself know me from literally doing specific fills of specific people on YouTube. But that's not the way I think about stuff. And it's kind of like I'm contributing to that thought process while simultaneously thinking it is the worst thought process in the world. So I said to that student, it's the equivalent of planning every sentence that you're ever going to say before you have those conversations. Because realistically, the grooves that you're playing and the fills that you're playing should react to the music that's around you. And if there's no music around you, how can you know that's the right thing? Yeah. So it is a case, like, similarly, let's take something and let's work out why that's a good fill or a bad fill, or why that's cool, What can we steal from that? Could we apply that to a 400 other fills, as opposed to, let's, for example, I'm playing, I don't know, Billie Jean, for example, playing away, and then I'm going to put that Benny fill in. It's like, it's not a really the same as I'm going to put a fill that does this to the music. But again, it's maybe that's an experience thing. Maybe that's just as students and develop as musicians that they will learn that. So it's kind of that fine balance as a teacher of like, yes, I'm going to show you some stuff that's cool and keep you excited, while simultaneously not making you just play lots of licks and not be a good musician. It's a balance thing.
So while we're talking about education, I've asked this one to a lot of people, but when I'm talking to someone that teaches, I think this is a really important question. So when you first get a new gig with an artist, whether it be recording or or whatever, or whether you're just learning a song and you want to learn how to play it, how do you learn that song? So do you transcribe it? Do you just listen to it and then just play it? Or have you ever had a gig where they give you the entire folder with all the dots? Here you go, Dave. Here's the whole thing. Or I'm going to put this one out there for you as well. Or do you put the track on Spotify, press play, and immediately play along with it without listening to it first?
Okay. So I've had all of those things except the last one, where that's obviously not the way. So it depends on the gig. It really depends on the gig. So if I'm working with an artist that has if I'm doing like a sort of session musician thing, they will maybe send me a demo ahead of time. Maybe. Usually that demo has a basic drum track, but more often than not is literally just an acoustic guitar and a vocal, or not even a vocal sometimes. So it's kind of in that situation, it's required for me to literally make up the drums. There is no drums to copy, so I can't go on Spotify and transcribe it. I can't do those things. So in that situation, as well as like a function bandy situation where you're doing covers, I would do an idiot chart. Intros, 8 bars, blah, blah, blah. Do a very quick chart, one listen. Do a second listen where I would decide, in terms of like the session bit, some ideas ahead of time. So I'd be like, okay, ride cymbal here, hi-hat here, stop here, maybe build down and stuff like that. And then rely on my experience and the things I have practiced, which are not songs, so things that allow me to express myself on the instrument better, to then play the song as well as I can. Usually in a session situation, the first take, I would put in every single idea deliberately. So I'd play the verse one way, and then the second verse I would do a totally different idea if I had two, third verse, etc. And then go back in and say to the artist, right, which one did you like? Because did you like the simple one, the busier one? Did you like this bit? Second take, you arrive at something. Third take, you hopefully nail it, and then you move on to the next song. Because it's very rare that you will get given the full transcription. And honestly, even if you get like a big band gig, you're not getting every single note written out, ever. You'll get the hits. So I've done gigs where it's that the only time I've ever been given every note is a musical thing, which I've done a few of. Haven't done anything recently, but I have done situations where it's been like a call on the night. The drummer's got ill. Can you come and play Susical the musical, please, in half an hour? And then you're just like, just playing and hoping and praying that notes land in the right place. It's just, everything should be dependent on the situation, and I don't think you can pre-plan what you're going to do musically or otherwise. But what you can do is prepare as best you can when you're practicing. So if you practice how to play groove styles, types, how to, even if you wanted to do cruise ships or even musicals and stuff, practice your sight reading. But you can't ever practice every single situation. It's the sentence thing again. Like, you can't ever know every conversation you're going to have, but we never think about the way that we're having a conversation now. And you're reacting to what I'm doing. So as a musician, that's what I want, and that's what I want my students to do. So it's having the fundamentals, and then I was watching like a YouTube video a good couple of years ago, and there's a sax player called Bob Reynolds, plays with Snarky Puppy, does a lot of his own cool stuff. He's got lots of videos online of him playing gigs with really cool drummers like Spot and things like that. So definitely worth to check out. But he does like vlogs and things. And one thing he said in one of his vlogs was that your fundamentals are your parachute. So they will catch you. So if everything goes wrong, at least you've got your solid foundation. So just work on your fundamentals. Groove type. What am I going to play most of the time? Grooves, some fills, hands getting a good sound, technique without hurting myself. Hopefully everything else will fall into place. And then the artistry will come out, the uniqueness that is you, because obviously you've interviewed 65 drummers. Every one of them is different. You're different than me. We play the exact same notes, but we play them differently. Because we speak the same language, but speak it differently, which is cool, which is a uniqueness that everyone has. I would never, ever just put the song on and play.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to come to that, because that's, I feel like that's something that certainly a lot of my students need to actually learn, that is not the way to learn a song. If you haven't actually listened to it, how can you try and play along?
Yeah. To come, like, one thing I did miss out, the transcribing note for note thing. I maybe would do that if I was doing a gig where the drums had been written before and someone asked me to, like, be the live drummer for this thing that had been recorded, and the music was quite technical, that's where I'd write it out. I know a lot of metal drummers do that. So there's a guy here in Edinburgh who does that. Alex Rudiger, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a metal drummer. But basically, it's not just like the kind of System of a Down metal that I used to play. Proper tech metal, proper like really intricate parts, everything orchestrated. So he would write every note out, learn it. It's a totally different style of drumming and music. So that's appropriate. Whereas playing pop songs, it's probably not time efficient to write everything out. I did one gig where I wrote every note out, and then very, very quickly, the first ever gig I got paid for, I was very, very quickly like, this is not time efficient.
Yeah.
The money I'm being paid versus the time I'm spending transcribing these notes, totally not.
Have you ever had anything go wrong on stage that you've had to recover from, whether it be, an equipment fail or a brain fail,
Well, brain fails, that's just me waking up in the morning, if I'm honest, most of the time. Yeah, total brain farts. I swear I blacked out at a gig once. I think I was doing a gig, just covering for a friend's band, and there's like a song and a half I just could not remember. I swear I blacked out. So brain farts, definitely. Gear fails. I've fallen backwards off a stage, like not fully off the stage, but like when the stool's right on the edge, and I was just enjoying myself a bit too much, and it fell backwards, and then I was like back like this. I've had cymbals collapse, sticks, obviously. I remember doing a gig, like a half-hour gig, and dropping 8 sticks in like 6 songs or something stupid like that. But yeah, totally like everything gone wrong. Bass drum pedal. I've never broken a bass drum pedal, but it's definitely flown off. Beaters have come off. Haven't broken a head in a very long time, but that's happened before. And yeah, brain farts happen when you get complacent, I find. I find that if I'm doing a gig, often like for most of my career per se, it's been playing 2 or 3 gigs with somebody, and then there's someone else. So even if it's like a function thing, I'll maybe do like 2 gigs with this band, but then the next weekend I'm playing 2 gigs with this band. So they've all got different sets, they've got different things I need to learn. So I'm really on my toes. If I play with the same band for like 3 months, I just get really lazy and complacent. I'm like, I know this set. Oh, I know the tempos. And then it just all falls apart. So yeah, brain farts will happen, I find, personally, if I get complacent or lazy. And to be honest, like if I'm filming stuff, the amount of stuff where I'm just like, hands just stop working, or I try to play something and I'm like, okay, I've forgotten how to play the drums entirely now. What's going on here? Yeah, the outtakes I would have from any lesson would be significantly longer. And more brain farts when I'm speaking on camera than playing, but still a significant amount of just wanting to give up the drums half the time when I'm trying to film how to play quarter notes or something.
See, and there you go. That's an important one as well, because a lot of people, a lot of our students I know get frustrated when they're learning and stuff, and they think, oh, but you make it look so easy, is what they say to me. And I'm like, yes, but that might be the case. But I've been playing for X amount of years, and I haven't always made that thing look easy. And if I was to
Yeah.
play something else, I still wouldn't make that look easy because I can't do it.
Yeah, no, totally, totally. It's all a level thing. It's like where you are on your timeline, as it were. And one thing I've discovered is like teaching so many people is everybody makes the same mistakes.
Mm,
Like this, literally at the same spot in the same lesson that I would teach to Jimmy or Sandra over here, like years apart, they will make the same mistakes.
mm,
Um, like do the exact same thing. A classic one is when you're playing the ah of one on the bass drum, but your right hand plays at the same time.
mhm,
Yeah, everybody does that. You could ask any teacher in the world, everybody does that. And I use that as a way of saying to students, well, that means that I did that, and it means that Chris Coleman probably did that, and Benny Greb probably did that, and your favorite drummer out of Royal Blood probably did that.
mm.
So we're all the same. It is a weirdly frustrating self-determination based instrument. Um, and often it's a case of like just, which is one of the detriments of online teaching, is I can't be there really pushing them on, really like cheerleadering almost.
Mm.
um but yeah, everyone's the same. Everyone has the same problems. Everyone has the same problems. Everyone's hands work the same, or don't work the same most of the time.
So now moving away from drums, a
Hmm.
couple of curveball questions here for you. So
I like it.
my first one is, um, what are your hobbies away from drums?
What are my hobbies away from drums? um as a fairly new father, I don't have any hobbies or any time at all, ever again.
Tell me about it.
So yeah, totally. So family time is really important. Balance of family time and being like present when you're there. Um, I like to cook. I really like to cook. When gyms and stuff are open, I like to go there as a bit of like a half-hour mental break. Um, but yeah, like mainly just trying to be not a drummer, if you know what I mean. So
Mm.
when I'm with family, I'm trying to be present. Cooking, reading every now and then, watching things. As you know, as a parent, you basically just have an hour window where you can do what you want, and then you go to sleep again. So that's been my life for a year. My wife and I's life.
Yep. In our case last night, it wasn't an hour; it was 20 minutes.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. So you can't really get much done in 20 minutes. So you just sort of collapse on a sofa somewhere or in a heap and cry.
Exactly. I totally knew before I asked you that question that you were going to kind of answer it in that way.
Hmm.
But I've said this to a lot of people, we are lucky, aren't we, that drums started out as our hobby and they, now pay the bills and they are our job, but they are still totally my hobby. It's my
Yeah,
job.
totally,
Love it.
totally. It's you happen to get paid to do the thing that you would do anyway,
Mm.
which is great. So yeah, it's weird. Like I know that if I had a 9 to 5 or a normal job, I would have a hobby to keep me occupied, like a lot of my students do.
Mm.
Whereas I get to do this. My hobby, really, actually, to be honest, is making videos.
Yeah.
That's the hobby that I have. I just happen to incorporate it throughout my normal day. That's a hobby that I'm passionate about. That's what I enjoy doing,
Mm.
away from actually playing the drums. Um, and that doesn't really leave a lot of time for anything else.
Mm.
But I'm
What
very fortunate to actually be able to do that and not, have to do it at 2 in the morning because I have to work a 9 to 5 to support my family around
Are you a Final Cut guy? Or are you an Adobe?
that. Premiere.
Okay.
I'm not a Mac user at all.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
I never have been, never
Okay.
will be. So yeah, so it's all Adobe Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Lightroom,
Yeah.
etc., etc.
Okay.
It's one of those things. It's like that's the only one I've ever used, so it's the one I know how to use. But I'm pretty sure they would all work the same, and you could work your way around it. It's just the menus would be in a different place, things would be different. But yeah, as long as they get the videos out and they look good, which is always the frustration, no matter what drum kit you're playing, no matter what camera you've got, if you don't know how to use it, it won't achieve its full potential. And that's what I'm working on. Hopefully, trying to make things a little bit better.
No, well, from what I've seen, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I need to raise the bar with mine a little bit.
Well, there's always a bar to go. You look at someone like Mike Johnson, who's obviously like the OG, who's been doing it forever, or Drumeo, and they've got like an entire studio. Like, I think in the similar way that I could compare myself to Benny or Chris Coleman, like it's unhealthy that way for me to compare them as a drummer. It's probably very unhealthy for me to be like, my videos don't look like not even those drum guys, but the professional videographer guys who also happen to do YouTube. I'm like, oh, why don't my videos look as good as that? It's, well, they're really, really good at that, and they have very, very good equipment. Yeah, and they also have an entire team helping them do it.
Precisely.
With the exception of Mike, who does it all in himself because he's just a madman. But like it's a cool, and the sort of, I guess the video side of things is a cool way of learning a new skill, which helps actually personally keep me grounded as a teacher as well. I'm always learning that. I'm trying to improve that, which helps me relate a bit more to my students. Not just like, I'm not trying to better myself in any way, so I've got no idea how you feel not being able to better yourself in the thing that you're passionate about.
Yeah, good stuff.
Hopefully.
Now, second curveball question.
Fire away.
What's your favourite biscuit?
Oh, biscuit. Are we classing a Jaffa cake as a biscuit?
Okay, so...
Or is a Jaffa cake a cake?
I've had this come up a few times in some of these interviews, and I think it was Googled. I can't remember who said the Jaffa cake.
I'm not saying a Jaffa cake. I want to work out the parameters of the question.
We established that a Jaffa cake was a cake, and it was due to tax reasons. And the other thing the second part to this question for everyone has been, would you dunk that biscuit? And the person that I asked that to, the Jaffa cake, they said a Jaffa cake, and they're adamant. They're like, no, Jaffa cake. I said, all right, would you dunk it? And they're like, well, no, of course not. And I said, well, it's not a biscuit then, is it?
Okay. Maybe just a chocolate hobnob with a bit of caramel in it or something like that. I'm more of a gummy sweet kind of guy. So over a biscuit, not that I won't, devour an entire pack of biscuits in 2 seconds. But yeah, maybe if we're thinking of the dunking, and I'm thinking of my cup of coffee, then it's got to be something structurally sound like a chocolate hobnob. There we go.
And coffee is the beverage of choice, is it?
Yes. Far too much, one would say. However, yes, coffee is coffee. Yes, always coffee. Never a tea man.
So my last, more serious question now.
Okay.
So if you could give just one bit of advice to up and coming drummers, what would that be?
Be curious with new drummers, new musicians, new bands, new songs, new styles. Just try to discover everything, because we're very blinkered at the moment. I feel like a lot of students, maybe myself included, we listen to the type of music we like and we latch onto one band. But if you can expand your horizon a little bit using YouTube, Spotify and things like that, you'll find so much amazing stuff out there. Probably the same thing with drummers as well. Like, you're watching the same drummers all the time. So try to watch a new drummer. Be curious about that other person, that other band, that other style. And it'll make you a better musician, which is kind of the point, that we're playing drums to be better musicians, not necessarily better drummers.
And you've managed to take that right back round to the beginning again when you said about playing drums for music. See, look at that.
There we go. It's like almost like I know what I'm doing, but I don't.
And right there, that was my Instagram clip. Right.
Yeah,
there.
Totally.
Cool.
I have no idea. No one has any idea what they're doing. We're just honestly just making it up.
So, Dave, thank you so much for spending your time with us here at DrumWise today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
You're welcome, man. It was an absolute pleasure as well.